Hi, Terry VanNoy. Welcome to Math Class with Terry V. Hope this video helps you out, and if you enjoy it, please share it, comment, or like it. And you can also go to my website, MathPowerLine.com. It's a math resource blog, lesson videos for students, and other resources for parents and teachers. Give me a call or go to my website or email. All right, let's go to today's lesson. Now we're going to focus on something called coterminal angles. These are other names for the same angle, a positive version, a negative version, and an angle name where you can spin around multiple times. Obviously you can see further on the list we're going to get into trig values with these angles and then solving trig equations based on the unit circle. Alright, let's get going. Alright, so here is the unit circle again, and you've seen this in previous videos. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with this ray here, and it's going to be flat at 0 degrees. But as we open this angle up, say to 30 degrees, I want you to notice that we have lots of different names for that same angle. Now if we go in a positive direction, and that's always going to be counterclockwise, obviously we can call that 30 degrees. Okay? Pretty small angle. Now notice that if we use the same terminus, in other words this blue ray here, and we look at the angle coming from a different direction, say a negative direction, what if we started that way and went clockwise, ended up the same blue ray or the same terminus? That's a coterminal angle. Okay, coterminal angles are other names for the same angle because we're using the same terminus or the blue ray right there. Now if we're going in a negative direction, notice how we are 30 degrees away from a complete negative direction spin. So that would be 360 degrees, take away 30. So this angle here we could call negative 330. Okay? So a negative 330 degree angle is a coterminal angle with a positive 30 degree angle. Now every time you spin around the circle, you add 360 degrees. Positive if you go in this direction, and negative 360 degrees if you go in a clockwise direction. So here are some of the options. I could call this angle 30 degrees, or I could spin completely around 360 and add 30 more. So that would be 390. So 390 degrees in a positive degree angle is a coterminal name for that same angle. Alright? Of course we can go in a negative direction, and we could call it negative and 330 degrees, but if we keep going one complete spin, we would add 360 more negative degrees to that. So we could also call this negative 690 degrees, and so on and so on and so on. So it just depends on how many spins you want to put into the angle, or go in a clockwise direction or a counterclockwise direction. Counterclockwise angles are positive, clockwise angles are negative. Alright, so let's look at one more example before we see some problem sets. I open this up to 150 degrees. We'll start with 150 degrees, and the question is, what are the other coterminal names for that angle? Alright, well first of all, if I go in a counterclockwise direction, in other words positive direction for this angle, it's 150 degrees. Now if I spin completely around and get to that same blue point there, I would add 360. So if I add 360 to 150, that would be 510. And that would look like this. Going the other way, I could call this a negative how much? Well, that's where we have to kind of look at some reference points. Now notice that 150 is 30 away from 180, so that's a 30 degree angle right there. So if I go in a negative direction, I'm going negative 180 plus another 30, which would be 210. So I could call that angle negative 210 degrees. Notice that the positive version of the angle and the negative version of the angle, if we ignore the negative sign, add up to 360 degrees. Okay, now obviously I could have gone one whole spin before that, and I could have added 360 to that. So that would be negative 570. All right, so these are all coterminal names for that angle. So now let's go ahead and look at these first 4 questions here. And they give you a positive or a negative degree measure, and you find the coterminal angle for each given angle. Go ahead and hit pause and write it down and see what you think. All right, here are the answers. Number 1, we have a 312 degree angle, which is pretty close to a 1 full spin. And this first answer is if we do add 1 complete spin in there. So if I add 360 degrees to that, 1 complete rotation, that's how I get 672 degrees. Now 312 is how much less than a complete spin. In other words, if we go in a negative direction, we're going to subtract from 100 or 360, and that's where we get negative 148. Or sorry, negative 48 degrees. Number 2, 631. Now let's subtract a full spin. And that's how we get 271 positive degrees. And also, given that, that is 89 degrees short of a full spin, and that's where we get the negative 89 degree amount. All right, so be thinking in terms of 360 degrees, a complete spin. Number 3, obviously on the unit circle, we would have my first ray goes that way, and I'm going to go backwards 10 degrees. So we're going to be 350 going in the other direction. 370 is 1 complete spin in a negative direction. So it would be that type of angle there. So 360 negative degrees plus 10 more. And finally, number 4, negative 284 is 76 degrees in a positive direction. Notice how those absolute values there would add up to 360. And if we add another negative spin all the way around, if we add 360 negative degrees, that's where we get that answer right there. So it's pretty valuable to know, in most cases, the positive and the negative version of each of these angles, and those are called coterminal angles. And finally, find the measure of each of these angles. That's the angle in blue. So we have a positive angle here to figure out, and we have a negative angle there to figure out. Go ahead. All right, here we go. Number 29 is 30 degrees. Okay, and of course the reason why is because this entire angle here would be 90, and we have a 60 degrees short of that, so we have a 30 degree angle missing right there. In number 30, notice how it's showing a negative angle going down clockwise direction. The whole thing is 180, and you are 50 shy of that, so it's a negative 130 degrees. Thanks so much for watching this video. In the next one, it's a related topic now, but we're going to do the same thing with radians. Coterminal angles in radians. Thanks for watching. All right, there you have it. I invite you to go to my website now, MathPowerLine.com, or email me or give me a call. The way I work best with students is live online in my classroom. So if I can help you in any way, answer some specific questions, the first lesson with me is free as I show you how everything works. All right, study hard,